Pay attention to the woman in the red dress walking through this parking lot security footage. Georgia, fall of 2018, just after 1:30 a.m. She is 28 years old, a single mother, smiling slightly as she holds the hands of two men she met earlier that night. From a distance, it looks harmless, almost romantic. She believes she's protected, surrounded by company, heading somewhere safe to finish a drink and forget her problems. But look closer. One of those men will leave before the night is over. The other will not. Sarah doesn't know that this calm walk across the grass is the last moment of her life ever recorded. To the man in the gray hoodie, she isn't a person looking for relief. She's a symbol of something he hates. Before we reveal the evidence, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from tonight? And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next case. Pay attention to the quiet moments before everything breaks. Fall, 2018. Georgia. A small apartment where the lights are kept low to save electricity and the walls seem to press in closer every night. Sarah is 28 years old, a single mother standing in her kitchen with overdue bills spread across the counter. Rent, power, phone. Each envelope is a reminder that there is never quite enough time, money, rest. She moves softly so she won't wake her children, stepping around toys on the floor, brushing a kiss across each sleeping forehead. For them, she is calm. For herself, she is exhausted. By the time the apartment door closes behind her, Sarah has already made up her mind. This isn't about partying, it's about air. About feeling like a person again instead of a problem that needs solving. Or she asks a neighbor to keep an ear out for the kids, promises she won't be long, and drives toward a local bar she's passed 100 times but rarely entered. Just one drink, she tells herself. Maybe two. Enough to quiet the noise. Inside, the bar is warm and loud, the kind of place where nobody asks questions. Music hums through cheap speakers. Laughter bounces off the walls. Sarah orders a drink and lets her shoulders drop for the first time all day. That's when she meets them. Marcus stands out immediately. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark skin, gray hoodie pulled low, the kind of presence that fills space without effort. He doesn't talk much at first, but when he does, his voice is calm, steady, safe. David is different. Mid-30s, bald, softer around the edges. He smiles easily, laughs at Sarah's jokes, nods a little too often. Together they seem harmless, familiar, like men she's known her whole life. They talk about nothing important. Work, music, how hard it is to get by lately. Sarah drinks faster than she means to. The alcohol smoothing the sharp corners of her thoughts. For a while, she forgets about morning routines and school drop-offs. She forgets about the way panic creeps in at night when the kids are finally asleep and there's nothing left to distract her. A disturbance breaks the spell. Another man at the bar drunk, sloppy bumps into Sarah and lets his hands linger too long. Her mood shifts instantly. The room feels smaller, louder. She pulls back, anger and embarrassment burning her cheeks. This is the moment she decides to leave. Marcus notices. He steps in without raising his voice, placing himself between Sarah and the stranger. The problem dissolves quickly, like it never mattered at all. Marcus turns to Sarah, apologetic, almost protective. David chimes in, agreeing that the bar's gone downhill for the night. No pressure, Marcus says. But if she wants, they can head somewhere quieter. Finish a bottle. Talk without shouting over music. Sarah hesitates. She should go home, she knows that. But the idea of returning to silence to the bills, the worry, the endless loop of responsibility feels heavier than staying out just a little longer. These men don't feel dangerous. One feels strong. The other feels kind. Together, they feel like company. Later, a security camera watches as the three of them cross a parking lot under pale lights. Sarah's red dress stands out against the darkness. She walks between Marcus and David, her hands linked with theirs, steady, but clearly tipsy. To anyone watching, it looks almost tender, like friends helping a friend. Her phone buzzes, her mother's face appears on the screen, concern etched deep. It's late. Where are you? Sarah laughs it off, telling her she just needed a break, that she'll be home soon. She promises she'll be up early to take the kids to school. Everything is fine. The call ends. The phone slips back into her hand. This is the last time her voice will reassure anyone. As they leave the lot, Sarah feels something she hasn't felt in a long time: relief. She believes she's surrounded by people who will look out for her. She believes the night is still under her control. She has no way of knowing that one of these men will soon walk away, and the other will close a door behind her. And in that quiet decision made between exhaustion and trust, the night shifts from escape to ending. The camera mounted high above the parking lot doesn't know any of this. It doesn't see the exhaustion that led Sarah here, or the quiet bargaining she made with herself before leaving home. It only records shapes and movement. At 1:30 a.m., its lens captures 3 figures stepping off the sidewalk and onto a narrow stretch of grass between long rows of parked cars. The image is grainy, distant, almost gentle. There is nothing urgent in their pace, no struggle, no sign of fear. Sarah's red dress cuts through the darkness like a marker, the only color that truly registers under the pale overhead lights. She walks between Marcus and David, her hands wrapped around theirs, her posture loose but upright. To anyone reviewing the footage later, it looks like balance, like assistance. To Sarah, it feels like protection. The night air is cool against her skin, and for a moment the world feels simpler than it has in weeks. The 3 of them talk as they walk, their voices lost to the camera but their body language relaxed. Marcus keeps slightly ahead, guiding their path through the lot as if he's been here many times before. David lags half a step behind, glancing around, checking his phone, then slipping it back into his pocket. The rows of cars stretch on longer than expected, turning the walk into something that feels private, despite being fully exposed. Sarah's phone vibrates in her hand. The screen lights up with her mother's name. She hesitates, then answers, angling the camera so her face fills the frame. Her mother's concern is immediate. It's late. Where are you? Who are you with? Sarah laughs softly, brushing it away with practiced ease. She tells her she needed to get out for a bit, that she's safe, that she's with people who are looking out for her. She promises she'll be home soon. She promises she'll be fine. As she speaks, the camera records her smiling, nodding, reassuring. Her free hand tightens slightly around Marcus's fingers as if to emphasize her words. In the background of the FaceTime call, her mother catches glimpses of darkness, moving lights, unfamiliar shapes. It doesn't look like home, but Sarah sounds like herself, and that's enough to quiet the worry for now. The call ends. Sarah slips the phone back down, the glow disappearing as quickly as it appeared. This is the last time her mother will see her face, though neither of them knows it yet. To Sarah, it's just another small lie told to keep the night moving forward, to avoid questions she doesn't have the energy to answer. They reach the far edge of the parking lot where the lighting thins and shadows stretch longer across the ground. The camera's angle narrows, catching them only in fragments now, an arm, a shoulder, the flash of red fabric. Their conversation continues, casual and unguarded. Sarah's steps slow slightly, and Marcus adjusts his pace to match hers without breaking stride. There is a moment where Sarah looks up, her head tilting toward Marcus as if listening closely. Whatever he says seems to reassure her. She leans in just a bit, trusting the solidity of his presence. David watches this exchange quietly, his expression unreadable from the distance. He says something then, enough to draw a brief smile from Sarah, and the 3 continue on. Nothing about the footage suggests danger. That's what makes it so deceptive. There are no raised voices, no sudden movements, no signs that this night is narrowing toward a point of no return. It looks like 3 adults choosing to leave together, nothing more. The camera keeps recording until they drift beyond its range, swallowed by darkness and distance. The parking lot returns to stillness, cars unmoving, lights humming softly overhead. The footage ends without ceremony, no dramatic cut, no warning. Later, investigators will slow this video down, frame by frame, searching for meaning in every step, every glance, every subtle shift in posture. They will study Sarah's red dress and the way her hands are held. They will wonder what she felt in those seconds, what she believed, what she missed. But for now, in this moment, all that exists is a calm walk through a quiet parking lot, and a woman who believes she is safe. The camera has captured its final image of Sarah alive. Marcus's house sits far enough from the main road that the night feels heavier there, thicker, as if sound itself struggles to travel. When they arrive, it's already past 2 in the morning. The porch light flicks on, casting a dull yellow circle over cracked concrete. Inside, the atmosphere initially feels easy, almost disarmingly normal. Music plays low from a speaker in the corner. A bottle is set on the table. Marcus moves with quiet confidence, offering drinks, gesturing for Sarah to sit, making the space feel temporarily shared rather than owned. Sarah sinks into the couch, her body finally giving in to the alcohol and the long day behind her. She laughs at something David says, her words slightly slurred now, the edges of her sentences soft. For a moment, this feels like the night she wanted, a pause from reality, a place where nothing is being demanded of her. Marcus watches more than he speaks, leaning against the counter, eyes steady, unreadable. Time stretches strangely inside the house. Without windows in the main room, there's no clear sense of how late it's become. Around 3 in the morning, David checks his phone again, then again. His posture shifts. The easy humor fades from his face, replaced by something closer to unease. Marcus has grown quieter, responding in short phrases, disappearing briefly into other rooms without explanation. The house feels larger now, emptier in its silence. David clears his throat and announces that he should probably head out. He mentions work in the morning, responsibilities he can't avoid. He looks at Sarah when he says it, holding her gaze just a second longer than necessary. There's an unspoken question there, followed by a spoken one. "Do you want to come with me?" Sarah hesitates. The alcohol blurs her judgment. It wraps everything in a false softness. Leaving would mean ending the night, returning to the weight she was trying to escape. Marcus stands nearby, solid, calm, offering a small smile that seems reassuring. He hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't raised his voice. To Sarah, he still feels like protection, like strength. David, by contrast, feels nervous now, uncertain. The roles reverse in her mind. She shakes her head, smiling apologetically. She'll stay, just a little longer. David presses once more, softer this time. You sure? Sarah laughs it off, insisting she's fine, that Marcus lives here, that everything is under control. David doesn't argue. He nods, forces a smile, and reaches for his jacket. At the door he pauses, glancing back toward Sarah and then toward Marcus. Something about the look that passes between the two men is difficult to read. Marcus says nothing. The door opens, then closes. The sound of it shutting feels final in a way Sarah doesn't register. The lock clicks. David's car pulls away, its headlights briefly washing over the front of the house before disappearing down the road. The quiet that follows is deeper than before, no longer broken by casual conversation or shared laughter. Inside, the mood shifts almost imperceptibly. Marcus turns down the music. The room feels smaller now, the air heavier. Sarah notices it, but too late, her body sluggish, her thoughts slowed. She tells herself she's overthinking, that it's just late, that the night is winding down. Marcus sits across from her, studying her face with an intensity that makes her shift slightly on the couch. He asks questions now, different ones, about her kids, about why she was at the bar, about the choices people make. His tone remains calm, but something underneath it feels sharp, judgmental. Sarah answers unevenly, confusion creeping in, the warmth she felt earlier beginning to drain away. She thinks about David's question, about the chance she had to leave. The realization arrives quietly, not as panic, but as a subtle tightening in her chest. The sense of safety she carried with her into this house starts to fracture. The night hasn't ended. It has narrowed. And Sarah, alone now, in a place she doesn't understand, with a man she thought she did, has already made the choice that sealed everything that comes next. Marcus has spent his entire life perfecting the art of appearing ordinary, To neighbors, he is quiet, reliable, the man who keeps his yard neat and his voice low. To strangers, he is controlled, composed, someone who never draws attention unless he wants to. What no one sees is that this calm exterior was built on years of abandonment and resentment that never healed. He grew up without a father, a blank space in his life that no one ever explained. His mother drifted in and out, leaving him with a grandmother who struggled to provide even the basics. As a child, Marcus learned early that affection was conditional and temporary. He watched his mother disappear for days at a time, returning hollow-eyed, smelling of cheap perfume and cigarettes. When she finally left for good, Marcus was 6 years old enough to understand that she chose the world over him. That abandonment hardened into belief. In Marcus's mind, women who sought escape, especially in bars, especially at night, were weak, reckless, deserving of judgment. Single mothers carried a particular weight in his thoughts, their independence twisted into proof of moral failure. Over time, his bitterness became doctrine. He didn't see his hatred as cruelty, he saw it as clarity. In his house, that clarity has rules. Control is everything. Silence is power. When David left earlier, the balance shifted exactly as Marcus expected it to. The door closing behind David wasn't an interruption, it was confirmation. The night had finally narrowed to what Marcus understood best. 2 people, 1 space, no witnesses. Sarah senses the change before she understands it. Marcus's questions no longer feel curious, they feel evaluative. He asks about her children again, about their fathers, about why she needs a drink to cope. Each answer seems to harden something behind his eyes. Where there had been patience, there is now scrutiny. Where there had been reassurance, there is judgment. Sarah tries to laugh it off, blaming the alcohol, apologizing for things she isn't sure she's done wrong. Her words trail, her thoughts sluggish, her instincts dulled by exhaustion and trust misplaced. Marcus listens without interruption, nodding slowly, filing each detail away. To him, this isn't conversation. It's confirmation. In his mind, Sarah has already crossed a line. She came to a bar. She drank too much. She trusted a stranger. That is enough. Marcus's twisted logic doesn't require consent or context. It feeds on vulnerability. He believes he sees the truth beneath her smile, beneath her laughter, beneath the red dress she wore like a signal. And what he sees disgusts him. He tells himself he is different from men like David, different from the drunk who touched her at the bar. He convinces himself that what he feels isn't desire, but purpose, that what he's about to do isn't violence, but correction. This is how Marcus survives the moment by rewriting it in his head until cruelty becomes righteousness. Sarah feels the room close in, though nothing physical has changed. The couch beneath her feels deeper now, harder to rise from. Marcus stands, towering slightly, his presence suddenly unavoidable. He speaks quietly, his voice steady, almost gentle, as if calm itself can erase what's coming. Sarah's confusion sharpens into fear, but it arrives too late to guide her body into action. What happens next is not loud. It is not chaotic. It is the result of a man who has rehearsed his hatred for years, waiting for the right moment to justify it. Marcus does not see Sarah as a mother, or a daughter, or a woman trying to survive. He sees a symbol, a stand-in for every wound he never healed. By the time the night gives way to early morning, Sarah will not leave that house. The promise she made to her children to be home, to wake them for school, will remain unfulfilled. The red dress, the laughter, the sense of safety will all end here, inside the private logic of a man who believed punishment was his right. Outside, the world remains unchanged. Cars pass on distant roads, lights flick on in other homes. But inside Marcus's house, a boundary has been crossed that cannot be undone. 2 days pass before the absence becomes impossible to ignore. Sarah doesn't arrive to pick up her children. Her phone goes unanswered. Messages sit unread. At first, her mother tells herself it's a misunderstanding, a dead battery, a night that stretched longer than planned. By the second morning, worry hardens into certainty. Something is wrong. She calls the police and says the words no parent ever wants to say: "My daughter is missing." Detectives begin where the last known movement always lives now, in cameras. They trace Sarah's final hours backward through routine questions and fragmented timelines until they arrive at the parking lot. The footage appears unremarkable at first glance. 3 adults walking calmly, hands linked, no signs of distress. But the image of Sarah's red dress, her body language relaxed and trusting, becomes the center of gravity for the investigation. It is the last confirmed record of her alive. The men in the video are identified quickly. One of them is Marcus. When detectives knock on his door, he answers without hesitation. He is composed, polite, cooperative to a fault. He expresses concern, even sorrow, claiming he barely knew Sarah, that she left his house on her own. His voice never rises. His story never wavers. To investigators, it feels rehearsed, not scripted, but practiced. Marcus allows them inside. The house is clean, almost too clean. There are no obvious signs of a struggle, no broken objects, no blood in plain sight. It would be easy to walk away, to mark him as just another last contact interview, but something lingers. A feeling that the calm he projects is a surface layer, not a foundation. Detectives expand outward. They return to the parking lot footage, slow it down, study the way Marcus positions himself slightly ahead of Sarah, the way her grip tightens when she's on the phone with her mother. They compare statements. Small inconsistencies appear, not enough to accuse, but enough to justify another visit. When they search the backyard, it doesn't look dramatic. No shallow graves, no obvious markers, just soil that seems different, recently disturbed, a patch that doesn't match the rest of the yard. An officer presses a boot into the earth and feels it give slightly under the weight. That's when the tone changes. The first discovery is Sarah. Her body is located beneath the turned soil, hidden carefully, deliberately. The confirmation hits like a physical blow. The search doesn't stop there. It can't. Because once the ground has been opened, the truth refuses to stay buried. Nearby, investigators uncover more remains, then more. Bones, fragmented and incomplete, separated by time and decay. 6 additional sets in total. Women reduced to what the earth could not fully erase. No identification, no names, just the quiet math of repetition. This was not an isolated act. This was a pattern. The backyard transforms into a crime scene layered with years. Forensic teams work methodically, flagging evidence, photographing each section of soil. Neighbors gather at the edges of police tape, watching in disbelief. Some remember Marcus as the quiet man who waved but never lingered. Others realize they never truly noticed him at all. Inside the interrogation room, Marcus maintains his composure. He speaks carefully, offering condolences, insisting on misunderstandings. His eyes never leave the detectives' faces, searching for cracks, for doubt. When confronted with the discoveries behind his house, he doesn't erupt, he doesn't confess, he simply grows colder, more distant, as if retreating inward. Investigators piece together the timeline slowly. Missing persons reports from other jurisdictions. Unsolved cases that never had enough to move forward. Women who vanished after nights out, after trusting the wrong place, the wrong person. The connections form reluctantly, each one heavier than the last. The term Marcus used in his own mind cleansing, purification, never appears in official documents. But the intent is unmistakable. He selected his victims carefully, exploiting trust, alcohol, isolation. He hid them where no one would think to look, in the most ordinary place imaginable, his own backyard. For Sarah's family, answers arrive tangled with unbearable grief. Knowing what happened doesn't soften the loss, it sharpens it. Her children will grow up with fragments, photos, stories, a mother remembered through absence. The red dress becomes a symbol they can't escape. As night falls on the excavation site, the garden is no longer just earth and grass. It is evidence of years of silence, of a predator who operated unseen, protected by normalcy. The investigation has exposed what was hidden, but it cannot undo what was taken. The case moves forward now, heavy with names that may never be known, anchored by one that will never be forgotten. By the end of 2019, The case has spread far beyond the quiet streets where it began. News outlets describe it in fragments headlines about a backyard, unnamed victims, a man who looked ordinary until he wasn't. In court, however, the story is stripped of spectacle and reduced to facts, photographs, and testimony. This is where the night finally ends, not with emotion, but with judgment. Marcus sits at the defense table without visible tension. His posture is straight, his hands folded neatly in front of him. When prosecutors lay out the timeline, Sarah's disappearance, the footage from the parking lot, the discoveries in the garden, he listens with the same detached calm he showed during questioning. He does not interrupt. He does not look away. To the families watching from the gallery, his stillness feels like another violation. At one point, the prosecution displays a photograph of Sarah. She is wearing the red dress captured in the final video, smiling in a way that now feels painfully ordinary. Marcus glances at the image and does something that will be remembered long after the verdict is read. He smiles, not broadly, not proudly, just enough to suggest approval. Later, when asked if he has anything to say, he offers no apology. Instead, he frames his actions as release, claiming he freed her from a life of struggle. The words land like ice in the room. There is no visible remorse, no acknowledgement of the children left behind, no recognition of the women whose names were never recovered. Marcus speaks as if he is the only moral presence in the room, as if judgment belongs to him alone. The court records his statements without reaction. The law does not argue with delusion, it simply responds. David testifies as well, his voice quieter than anyone expects. He speaks about the night in pieces, moments he replayed endlessly, questions he never stops asking himself. He admits that he sensed something was wrong, that he hesitated at the door, that he asked Sarah if she wanted to leave. He also admits that he accepted her answer too easily. When he finishes, he does not look toward Marcus. He looks at the floor. His guilt does not require sentencing. It will follow him regardless. The judge reads the verdict into the record. Marcus is found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The words are formal, procedural, but they carry finality. There will be no release, no return. The garden behind his house will never again be mistaken for anything innocent. For Sarah's family, the ruling offers closure only in the narrowest sense. Her children are now being raised by their grandmother, a woman who carries grief alongside responsibility. Their lives move forward in routines, school mornings, quiet evenings, but the absence of their mother is permanent. They will grow older with questions that cannot be answered, with memories constructed from stories rather than experience. Outside the courthouse, the world continues as it always does. Cars pass. People hurry to work. Parking lots fill and empty without incident. Yet for those who followed the case, something has shifted. The idea that danger announces itself has been stripped away. The monster did not hide in darkness or chaos. He hid in normalcy. As Marcus is led away, he does not look back. There is no final outburst, no last attempt to justify himself. The chapter closes not with drama, but with containment. A man who believed himself entitled to judge others is confined by a system that does not share his illusions. The file is closed, the evidence archived, the case becomes reference material for future investigations. A cautionary example of how easily trust can be exploited and how long violence can remain unseen. Sarah's name remains in the record, tethered to a night that changed everything. She is remembered not for the moment she vanished, but for the life she lived before it was taken. And somewhere, far from the reach of parking lot, cameras, and quiet neighborhoods, Marcus will spend the rest of his life with nothing left to cleanse, nothing left to control, facing a silence that finally answers to no one. The case of Sarah is officially closed, but the haunting image of her red dress moving calmly through that parking lot will never disappear. She didn't run. She didn't resist. She didn't sense the danger standing beside her. Instead, she walked willingly into the night, believing she was protected. The camera didn't capture violence or chaos, only trust. And that is what makes the footage so disturbing. Marcus didn't expose himself with rage or noise. He didn't attack in public or draw attention to his darkness. He waited. He watched. He judged. In the quiet of his own mind, he convinced himself that he wasn't committing evil, he was correcting it. And that belief is the most terrifying part of all. Because the most dangerous monsters aren't always the ones who scream or strike without warning. They are the ones who sit in silence, building moral justifications while the world sees nothing wrong. So what is your verdict on Marcus's motive? Was he a man broken by abandonment, trapped in the unresolved trauma of a childhood that warped his view of women and morality? Or was he always a predator, hiding behind a lifetime of excuses until the right victim crossed his path? And ask yourself this: in a world filled with cameras, lights, and crowded spaces, how many other quiet judges are standing just a few feet away, deciding who deserves safety and who does not? If you found this deep dive into the psychology behind a hidden killer compelling, and if you want to continue uncovering the dark truths concealed within ordinary places and ordinary moments, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. There are many more case files waiting to be opened, and what they reveal is often far closer than we expect. Thank you for watching until the very end. Stay alert, stay safe. And tonight, when you walk through a parking lot or catch your reflection in a dark window, remember, sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't what you see, it's who might be watching you.